Hello guys, and welcome back to the HJW Gaming channel. And in this video I'm going to be talking through something a little bit different to normal. I'm going to be talking through an update that's just gone through on Rise to War that I think everyone needs to be aware of, as it does make quite a large change to your outlook on the game, and it could make a huge difference towards which faction you choose and also your strategies within the season. So you definitely need to be aware of this change. The change I want to discuss is, if you see here under optimizations, you'll see there's quite a few different things here. I'm not too worried, but the main one I'm looking at is this one. Adjusted the defending armies of some neutral camps, crossings and tunnels. Now, why is that important? Well, essentially, as I'm going to show a little bit later on, what they've basically done is they've gone through primarily neutral camps and they've changed the armies that are defending these neutral camps to make them significantly harder in most cases. So, why is this important? Well, the problem with this is that one of the primary strategies in this game to level up your commanders outside of using the Mind Sharpener function was to do what's called farm neutral camps. What this means is you'll find a neutral camp and you'll hit it repeatedly with an army that counters the armies on the tile. For example, as you can see here, I hit the Oathbreaker tiles in my most recent season, and doing that I used a focus protection chest and also high alert on my Gandalf to reduce the focus damage received from Oathbreakers. And this allowed me to pick up 90,000 XP in exchange for very minimal losses, particularly when you compared to the amount of losses I would get for a comparable amount of XP from taking level tiles that he would be able to take. So if I was to take, say, 200 power tiles, I would have, 40, 50 times the amount of losses, and I'd only get 80k XP for taking out 2 of those. That's without mentioning that taking multiple tiles also uses more stamina. So neutral camps basically are by far the most, or were the most efficient way to level your commanders. However, now that they've changed the neutral armies to become much more difficult, meaning this is no longer possible in most cases. So you're forced to therefore level up via taking higher and higher level tiles, or by using the Mind Sharpener function. I'll discuss possible ramifications of this a little bit later on. But first, let's go into some examples of these neutral camp changes. So as you can see here, I've gone through multiple different neutral camps, and I've done a few clairvoyants on them to show the different armies that are available on the tile. First up here is the Entmoot. Now previously, Entmoot or Ent tiles, the only commander on them was a Merry and Pippin with a full stack of Ents as the troop. That made them one of the most popular neutral farms to attack, because you'd get 180,000 XP before any ring buffs or structure buffs. And all you had to do was take out the Ents, which are very physical based units, so you just needed a strong melee tank and then a troop such as the Bow Knight, which could take down the large unit very quickly. Now, however, as you can see, they're protected with more troops than just Ents, and also commanders such as this Celeborn, but also Gandalf the Grey and Treebeard, as well as Galadriel. I've only done 4 examples here, but there may be more, but this makes them significantly more difficult to defeat. Similarly here, these are the Eerie tiles, which contain the Eagles T4 unit. They also have changed. They used to formerly hold only Radagast with full command of Eagles, which meant you could take them down quickly using only ranged units. Whereas you see now, we have both versions of Gandalf. We still have a Radagast, however he does also have March Wardens. And then also, probably the most difficult army of the lot, there is a Haldir here as well, with a full beast healing build with some very high damage units in the Iron Warrior and the Sentinel. So suddenly, these two, probably the best neutral units for farming, due to the fact they give 180,000 XP, suddenly these are no longer farmable due to the amount of losses that you would take. Looking into some of the tier 3 units, and evil-wise, this is the Dunlending Warriors. These are a very popular farm for the western side of the map, as the Dunlending Warriors have poor combat stats. Both Zegrid and Lurtz were always on the tiles as far as I'm aware, so these have not changed. However, it appears they have now added the possibility for Adune and Khaldun as well to be on the tile, and they no longer contain only Dunlending warriors, they do contain more high damage units such as Corsairs or Snipers. However, I do think these are still farmable as the commanders don't look particularly strong and they do still have a high command of Dunlending warriors. Now onto the Oathbreakers. Previously, King of the Dead was the only commander on these caves, and he had a full command, as you see here, of Oathbreakers. This used to be both armies on the tile, so you could easily get away with just running focus protection armour. Now they've changed it, so there's also this Baruthiel available on there, who doesn't just house an Oathbreaker army, she also has Corsairs. We have Boromir, who also has a command of Guards of the Tower. And lastly, Khaldun as well, who uses Corsairs. So you can't just run focus protection anymore, as there's now a vast array of threats in this army. Looking down towards back to tier 4s, we have the Fell Beasts. These used to be farmable similar to the Eries by just using ranged units. However, they've now added additional troops, the most difficult of which being a Witch King with the Great Beasts, which can then soak up that ranged damage. Do also have a Kurwan added as well, just for added little bit of difficulty. The Mumakil, however, I think in my opinion they've made these a little bit easier. Previously it used to contain a Black Serpent with a full command of Mumakil, whereas now you still have Black Serpent but with a variation of army. And due to the Mumakil's charge skill, they will actually deal damage to other troops in their own army. And having less Mumakil means that there's less HP for you to defeat, which was what made the tile so difficult in the first place. So potentially they have made these camps easier. But overall, the significant movement is towards making these more difficult. I know I didn't do an exhausting list of all tier 3 and 4s, feel free to check them out yourself if you're nearby or have spare ability points. But making them more difficult is essentially a quite clear pointing towards stopping people from farming these for experience. So what, in my opinion, is the reasoning for this? Well, I think this is a quite clear direction from the devs that they are trying to make this game even more pay to win. The reason this assists a pay to win model is that previously farming neutral camps could be done with minimal troop losses, so you didn't have to worry about how many troops you lost on a tile. All that mattered is that you could hit as many tiles as possible, so therefore players with very high activity who are active often during the day were rewarded. It doesn't necessarily require you to have amazing commanders and gear. However, with this now removed, you're basically left with two choices for levelling your commanders, and that is either mind sharpening or capturing tiles. If I address capturing tiles first, you can only really capture a tile if you have enough troops and stamina available. Both of these things give a massive advantage to a pay-to-win player. Stamina-wise, they have more availability to stamina pots due to the fact that you can buy these each day in the daily area of the store, and you can also buy them from a limited gift pack. So therefore, pay-to-win players will tend to have more stamina available than free-to-play. Next up is troops. Pay-to-win players will often also keep more troops alive in their army because they will have, in general, better equipment and higher respect level commanders. So therefore, they'll be able to keep their troops alive in order to farm for longer, and they'll also have more stamina, so they'll be able to level their commanders much quicker than free-to-play players. The second levelling method, Mind Sharpener, relies on you being able to have the highest power tile possible available. As you get more XP per ability point and per 20 stamina, the higher power tile that you possess and used Mind Sharpener on. So, stronger players and more pay-to-win players, therefore, can capture higher tiles sooner because they have those higher respect commanders and better gear, as I said earlier. So this means, again, they'll be able to use Mind Sharpener significantly earlier than anyone else, which again advantages the pay-to-win and disadvantages the free-to-play player. Previously, lower spending players who had very high activity could farm these neutral camps in order to keep up their levels with the pay-to-win players, as it didn't require them to take massive tiles as often as possible. However, with this now gone, you're essentially forced into these methods and the losses and just have to accept that you're never going to keep up with the strongest players in your server, which I think is a really quite disappointing move from the developers, in my opinion, and is continuing a recent trend in trying to move this game more and more towards a heavy pay-to-win model to try and extract as much cash from their players as possible, which is really disappointing, as previously things like stamina, etc. could mean that free-to-play players really had a place in this game, and I just think this is going to further drive them away and drop activity in this game. So now let's just discuss what effect this is going to have on your current or upcoming servers. One of the notable things that hasn't changed is that the only tier 2 neutral unit available, the Hobbit Archer, has not changed. Now the Hobbit Archers are extremely easy to farm as they're very, very low damage, and they provide the same experience as a 200 power tile without anywhere near the level of losses. So these are still very easily farmable. They're found within the Arnor region of Cardolan. So I think firstly what this is going to lead to is good side players playing Arnor significantly more than they did previously. Previously, Lothlorien and Rohan were often chosen and almost seen as the kings of experience farming due to their easy access to the Eagles and the Ent tiles in particular. I therefore expect to also see Lothlorien and Rohan get significantly less play. As they're placed in the middle of the map and often end up at very early war, they're quite often a poor faction to choose, but that could be outweighed by their capacity for very strong levelling. Now that's gone, there's almost no reason to choose them over a lot of the other factions, particularly Rohan with its poor starting location as well as poor starting units with cavalry. Within your season, I also expect neutral units to be seen far less often. As these now take so much more effort to capture, it's almost not worth it for the units you get in return. The only ones that are really worth it now, I would say, are Fell Beasts or Eagles, as these can have very good benefits in the fact that they move so quickly, they can help tilers enormously. But considering the cost of troops to capture them and then the cost of the units themselves to hire, I think we'll see them significantly less used. Lastly, we're going to start seeing a much bigger divide within seasons between pay-to-win and free-to-play players as a result of what I said earlier regarding stamina and tile taking. Particularly in early season, I'm talking the first week or so, production rankings, pay-to-win players are going to significantly outrank free-to-play players. This could also lead to a massive decline in the number of free-to-play players playing this game, or low-spending players who feel that they can't keep up with some of the massive spending players in their server, which I think is disappointing, as surely you want as many people playing this game as possible, as free-to-play players make this game. They make up the bulk of the player base of this game, and without them, there'll be absolutely no fun left in this game whatsoever. So I think that's really, really disappointing. But anyway, I think I've said my piece, and I think I've explained what's gone through pretty comprehensively. If you have any comments about this change, let me know what you think in the comments section below, and I'll be happy to read any of these comments and take it on board. If you want to see some more of my videos, please hit the subscribe button to be alerted as soon as whenever I upload a video. And also, please check out my video in the outro to see how to counter the popular evil side commander, Sauron. And if you do choose to do either of those things, I really hope to see you on the next one.